Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, and welcome to Rustboro City, where today the Santalune Swarm are going to be challenging the Rustboro Rockies. Now the Swarm are going to start out with Pinsir and Scyther, two Cantonian based Pokemon, whereas Caracosta and Gigalith are going to start out for the Rustboro Rockies. Now let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win today though, the Rustboro Rockies or the Santalune Swarm. Both of these sides are vying for a spot in the top 8 to try and make the first ever championship trials in the Elite Challenge League, as we get an assurance from Scyther going for Gigalith, and it gets a critical hit there. Now Gigalith is going to be very defensive, can be hard to take down, so it might be good for the Santalune Swarm to focus in on it, as we get a dual chop coming from Pinsir, also targeting Gigalith, gets those 2 hits, so already Gigalith is almost down to 50% of its health. Caracosta is a water rock type, so we'll see what it responds with. It actually goes for a disable, which means it's going to prevent Scyther from using its Metronome. Scyther will be left to struggle, which means it's going to be getting recoil damage every time it hits. Flash Cannon now coming from Gigalith. Targets Pinsir with that move. Decent hit on the bug type. Now, as always, this is a 6-on-6 Metronome battle, and if we hit that 20-minute time limit, we will go to single battle overtime. And here's Scyther using that struggle. Targets Gigalith, and there's that recoil damage on Scyther, taking a quarter of its health. Now Pinsir looking to follow up. Going to go with a Mega Kick. Caracosta avoids that attack. Now the water type is going to throw some spikes over to the side of the Santalune Swarm, so anybody who now comes onto the side for the Swarm is going to take damage from those spikes. Gigalith now goes with the Swallow, but that does fail. Now the Santalune Swarm are actually sitting 11th. They've been fighting so hard to try and get back into the top 8, and they continue to just miss out on the mark. As that struggle continues to hit Gigalith, and Scyther takes more recoil damage. Every time they get close to making it in the top 8, they do lose, as they lost last week, but we get a Boom Burst now. Coming from Pinsir, hits everyone on the field, takes Gigalith down into the red. Caracosta now sets up for its turn and goes with the flip turn, so we'll be going back to the bench. But first it's going to hit Scyther, and Scyther is eliminated from the matchup by that flip turn. Good hit by Caracosta. Caracosta goes back to the bench. Don't be confused, it's not eliminated like Scyther was. As we have Aerodactyl now coming out for the Rustboro Rockies. The Rustboro Rockies having numerous fossil Pokemon on their side, as Gigalith has the opportunity to target solely Pinsir and goes with an Astonish. And Astonish is going to hit Pinsir. Doesn't do a great deal of damage. So we're going to have the third Pokemon now coming out for the Santalune Swarm. And it's Heracross, a fighting bug type. Now Heracross needs to capitalize on its fighting type, as it does take damage from those spikes on the field. Speaking of taking advantage of their types, Aerodactyl should try to capitalize on its flying typing, as we get an Ice Shard coming from Aerodactyl. Goes for Pinsir with that move. It'll take Pinsir down into the yellow. Has the chance to respond now. Pinsir's going to go with a Dragon Tail. Goes for Gigalith, and Gigalith has been eliminated, so we're all back to being tied up here on the field, as Caracosta will come back onto the field shortly. Now Heracross can focus solely on Aerodactyl, and it goes with the Luster Purge, so it does go for an offensive move. Aerodactyl takes its first damage of the matchup. Caracosta now comes back out onto the field. Now the Rockies are actually in the 8th, they're sitting 7th, so if they lose today they could actually fall out of the top 8. And with only 2 rounds left after this matchup, they do not want that to happen. Aerodactyl going with a Milk Drink, so it's going to restore its health back to full strength. Heracross now setting up for its turn. And it's going to go with the Rain Dance. If this is going to benefit anybody on the field, I have to think it's going to benefit Caracosta, who is a part water type. Caracosta is going to get a speed boost thanks to that rain. It's going to go with the Burning Jealousy. This will be super effective. It's going to hit both Heracross and Pinsir. Pinsir's taken down into the red. It's still hanging on, so it's got its chance to respond now. And it's going to go with a Sludge Bomb. It targets Caracosta with that move. Now, it's not very effective, but the fossil Pokemon is being chipped away at. Aerodactyl is the quickest Pokemon on both sides. It's going to go with the Smoke Screen. It's going to lower the accuracy of Pinsir here. Pinsir's just hanging on, so it is actually an easy target for Caracosta to potentially eliminate. And Caracosta goes with the Flail. targets Heracross with that move. Decent hit. Heracross still just holding on in the green. As Pinsir now sets up for a mist. Now Heracross goes with the baton pass, so Heracross is going to go back to the bench. And have a different Pokemon now come out for the Santalune Swarm. Heracross is still in this matchup. They send out Shuckle. Shuckle, who's actually a bug rock type, so Shuckle could have been drafted to the Rustboro Rockies. Shuckle is a very defensive based Pokemon, has that 230 defense and special defense. It can take some hits, and we've seen it take many throughout this season of the Elite Challenge League, holding on numerous occasions. As Aerodactyl uses that magic powder on Shuckle to change its type to Psychic. Pinsir's going to go with a charge. So it doesn't go for the offensive move here. Instead, it begins to charge power and boost its special defense. Caracosta now is going to go with the Metal Burst. But that does fail, and Shuckle now is going to set up for its first move of the matchup. Goes with the Icy Wind. This will hit both Aerodactyl and Caracosta, doing more damage to Aerodactyl being super effective, as it's not very effective on Caracosta. Aerodactyl and Caracosta both have their speed lowered, thanks to that Icy Wind. Now with only 3 rounds left until we get to the championship trials of the Elite Challenge League, both these sides want every victory they can get, because at the moment it looks like they're both going for wildcard positions if they end up between 5th and 8th. And Pinsir will begin to levitate with electromagnetism, as Aerodactyl, after having its speed lowered, is now going to go with the Dragon Rush. Targets Pinsir with that move, and Pinsir has been eliminated. Pinsir and Caracosta, who have both been in the battle since the start of the matchup. But now Pinsir's taken out, and Caracosta is going to focus on Shuckle, but goes to the Gravity, which means it's actually going to bring Aerodactyl back down to the ground from the sky. Shuckle throws spikes over to the side of the Rustboro Rockies. So anybody who comes out now will take damage from those spikes. And Heracross comes back out onto the field for the Santalune Swarm. So there's spikes on both sides of the field as Heracross is taken down into the yellow by the spikes on the side of the Santalune Swarm. Heracross has that speed advantage thanks to Aerodactyl being slowed down, and it goes with the Horn Leech. It's going to target Caracosta, and a massive hit. Caracosta is eliminated as Heracross gets his health restored. Caracosta is taken down, and already we're back to being level. It is now a 4 versus 4 battle. Aerodactyl on the field by itself. Goes with the tea time though, so it's going to make everyone eat their leper berries. Trying to make friends with Shuckle and Heracross whilst it's on the field by itself. See if Shuckle can capitalize after it finishes its leper berry. It's only got one target, being Aerodactyl. Now Shuckle's going to go with the Dragon Darts. Both those darts are going to hit Aerodactyl. They're not going to do a great deal of damage with the first one, and neither does the second one. Keeping in mind, it gets the critical hit with that second one though. Keeping in mind, those Shuckle's offenses are minuscule. They are 10 and 10 for its attack stats. As we have Barbaracle now coming out for the Rustboro Rockies. Barbaracle being afflicted with those spikes. So whoever comes onto the field just taking damage. Now Heracross is still faster than Aerodactyl as that rain has stopped on the field, and we get a metal sound coming from Heracross. It targets Barbaracle with that metal sound. Special defense of Barbaracle being lowered. You have to think if Barbaracle takes a grass type move, it will be eliminated as we get a triple kick coming from Aerodactyl. Gets Heracross with the first 2, gets all 3, but does not do a great deal of damage whatsoever. Barbaracle now going for its first move of the matchup, and it's going to go with the Hydro Cannon. That'll also go for Heracross. A huge hit, and Heracross is just holding on. So Heracross is still in this matchup. Shuckle goes with the Magic Room. Now you have to think Aerodactyl needs to target Heracross in this next matchup. Heracross potentially going for its last move depending on if it takes any damage, and it goes with a Twister. So Barbaracle and Aerodactyl are both going to take damage on this turn. Aerodactyl being taken down into the yellow. Aerodactyl is going to go with the Pound. Targeting Shuckle with that move, as Barbaracle has to recharge from that Hydro Cannon. Now Shuckle is going to go with the Flare Blitz. It's going to get some recoil damage here. Goes for Barbaracle. Very minor damage done by that move, which means Shuckle's recoil damage is very minuscule. Again, Heracross has survived another turn. Heracross now going with the Hypnosis. And it is going to connect. It's going to put Barbaracle to sleep. So Barbaracle, after having to recharge on the previous turn, is now asleep. So it misses out on more turns. As Aerodactyl sets up for its turn. And it's going to go with the Beat Up. Going for Shuckle. It hits once. Hitting for every Pokemon remaining on the Rustboro Rockies. Hits twice. Gets critical hit on that second one as well. That third one's going to take it down into the yellow. And it's super effective. It only hits 3 times because Barbaracle is asleep, and it was super effective because remember, Shuckle is now a Psychic type. Thanks to that Magic Powder earlier on. Now Shuckle going with the Fire Fang, continuing to target Barbaracle with these Fire type attacks that are practically doing 0 damage as that gravity wears off and Aerodactyl goes flying back up into the sky. Now Heracross goes with the Magnet Rise, so it's going to levitate thanks to that electromagnetism. Now Aerodactyl surely needs to finish off Heracross. It's going to go with the Hurricane, and Heracross avoids that attack, so Heracross is still holding on. Barbaracle's is still asleep on the field, snoring itself away. Now Shuckle goes with the Darkest Lariat. And continues to target Barbaracle with these not very effective moves. That Darkest Lariat doing a little bit more than the Fire type attacks we're doing. Sorry, not Aerodactyl. Heracross is going with the Confusion, and it's going to target the sleeping Barbaracle, taking it down into the yellow. So Barbaracle is being chipped away at methodically by the Santalune Swarm. Aerodactyl though goes with the Coil. So Aerodactyl not going for any offensive move here. Instead it's going to boost its stats, lifting up that attack and defense, as well as its accuracy, as Barbaracle has finally woken up. Barbaracle is going to go with an Annoy with a Heat, but Shuckle avoids that attack. Shuckle goes with the Magical Leaf. Now if it goes for Barbaracle, it could eliminate, but instead it goes for Aerodactyl. So it's not as effective due to Aerodactyl's flying typing. So after hitting all those not very effective moves on Barbaracle, what would have been super effective, it instead goes for Aerodactyl. Now Heracross is going to go with an Arm Thrust. Targets Barbaracle here, gets that first hit. And the second hit has taken Barbaracle down, so Barbaracle is eliminated. The Santalune Swarm practically kept Barbaracle out of this matchup for as long as they could and then took it down. Very impressive by Heracross and Shuckle there, as Aerodactyl is going for a Flatter. So this is going to leave Heracross confused. It does boost its special attack though. So Heracross could potentially eliminate itself from this matchup. And again, Aerodactyl is on the field by itself. And Shuckle is going to go with the Conversion. So again, Shuckle's typing will change in this matchup. This time it's going to become a normal type. And we have Omastar coming out for the Rustboro Rockies. Another Cantonian Fossil. And Heracross shakes off its Confusion. And it's going to go with the Confide, so it doesn't go for an offensive type move. Instead it's going to lower Aerodactyl's special attack here. Aerodactyl has its chance to respond. Will they finally take down Heracross? Instead it goes with its own Confide. Using that one on Shuckle though. So Shuckle's special attack also being lowered. Now Omastar's going to go for its first move of the matchup. And it's going to go with the Minimize. So it's going to boost its evasiveness here. Very methodical matchup here. Not very many eliminations happening so far. As we get a Heal Pulse coming from Shuckle. And it targets Omastar with that, so Omastar's going to get taken back to full strength thanks to Shuckle. That is not what the Santalune Swarm want. They must be very unhappy with what Shuckle has just done, but I'm amazed that Heracross is still in this matchup. And again, it shakes off its confusion. This time we get a defend order from Heracross, so it's going to boost its defenses. But you have to think it would have been better to go for an attack order, because I think if Heracross takes any damage, it will be eliminated from this matchup. Tail Slap now coming from Aerodactyl, and this will eliminate Heracross from the battle. Heracross held on for as long as it could, but it has finally been eliminated. So Omastar can focus solely on Shuckle. There's 3 Pokemon remaining on both sides as Omastar uses his Twister onto Shuckle. Chipping away there at the Bug Rock type. Shuckle goes with an Ice Punch. It targets Omastar, which isn't very effective. Another move where it would have been better to target the other Pokemon. It should have gone for Aerodactyl. Now with Omastar's weak armor, it will have its defense lower, but it will boost its speed. Now Vikavolt comes out for the Santalune Swarm, the electric bug type. Vikavolt, if it can, should capitalize on its electric typing and try to get an elimination, because both Omastar and Aerodactyl are weak to electric types. Omastar going with a Pain Split here. And it's going to take away a little bit of Vikavolt's health and boost itself back up to 100%. Aerodactyl goes with a Vine Whip. And it targets Shuckle here, and Shuckle's taken down into the red, so Omastar could potentially finish it off in the next turn. But Vikavolt's going to go with the Storm Throw. Targeting Aerodactyl here. And Aerodactyl is almost eliminated with a critical hit, but it's able to hold on. Shuckle has the chance to finish it off. Goes with the Bind, but Aerodactyl avoids that attack. And you have to think that Bind would have eliminated Aerodactyl. Omastar now with that boosted speed. It's going to go with the Leer, so it doesn't go for the offensive move. And there's our 3-minute one. We only have 3 minutes left in this matchup. And if their Pokemon are still remaining on both sides, we will go into our single battle overtime. And there's still 3 Pokemon remaining on both sides, as Aerodactyl is going to go with an Earth Power onto Shuckle. So Shuckle has finally been eliminated. There's only 2 Pokemon now remaining for the Santalune Swarm. Now Vikavolt, see if it can get out an electric type attack. Goes with the Tar Shot instead. So it's going to slow down Aerodactyl and make it weaker to fire type attacks. But it could have gone for an offensive move and eliminated Aerodactyl here. So a very poor choice by Vikavolt, as we have Volcarona coming out for the Santalune Swarm. And Volcarona is still yet to get an elimination this season, as it takes damage from those spikes. And Volcarona was the #1 draft pick for the Santalune Swarm. See if we can get an elimination here today. Omastar's going to go with the Throat Chop. Targeting Vikavolt there. Decent hit as we get our 2-minute warning. Volcarona is going to go with a Roar. So it's going to send Aerodactyl back to the bench. So we have Kabutops come out onto the field, and it takes damage from those spikes. Now Aerodactyl, if it comes back out onto the field, won't take damage from those spikes because it is a flying type. We get an Incinerate coming from Vikavolt. This hits both Kabutops and Omastar. It's not very effective. And if you notice, there's only Cantonian fossil Pokemon remaining on the side of the Rustboro Rockies. We'll see if their common bond can pull them all together and try and get the victory here. Omastar goes with the Leaf Tornado. Targets Volcarona with that move. Does very minimal damage, being not very effective. Volcarona now. It's going to go with the Strength Sap, so it's going to restore its health. It's also going to lower the attack stat of Kabutops. As we get our 60-second countdown clock up on the screen, which means it looks like we're going to be going into overtime here. Kabutops setting up for its turn. And it's going to go with an Explosion. Maybe we won't go into overtime. And Vikavolt is eliminated. Kabutops has taken itself down. We have 36 seconds left. And there's 1 Pokemon remaining on the side of the Santalune Swarm. Omastar's weak armor is going to lower its defense again, but it does boost that speed even more. We will have Aerodactyl come back out onto the field. We might not even have time for this next turn. Aerodactyl comes back out. You have to think, okay, we're going to have 1 more turn each. Aerodactyl avoiding those spikes on the side of the Rustboro Rockies. That would have eliminated it too. And this is the last turn before we potentially go into overtime. Omastar could get the victory here. It's going to go with the Spatial Rend as that clock hits 0. and it will get the job done. We will not go into overtime because Volcarona has been eliminated. We had 3 eliminations in the last minute there, and the Rustboro Rockies have come away with the victory, a huge victory, as now they only have 2 games left before the championship trials, and that is a massive win as they want to be in the top 4, because the top 4 will keep them out of the wild card matchups. But a massive victory, and now the Rustboro Rockies next week are going to be hosting the Lumios Lightning, who have had a massive losing streak, so we'll see if the Rustboro Rockies can capitalize on that. So that was a very methodical battle right there until the end, and then they just came out with some massive bombs, especially on the side of the Rustboro Rockies, that explosion, and then almost started taking out Volcarona. But the Santalune Swarm, again, just cannot get themselves into the top 8, and if they keep this up, well, clearly, they need to win their next 2 games if they stand any chance of making the championship trials. And next week, they're going to be hosting the Saffron Psychics, and we know the Psychics can't make the finals, so they'll try to play spoiler to the Swarm, but the Swarm have that type advantage over the Psychics. So I look forward to that game next week, see if the Santalune Swarm can keep their chances alive. But that explosion in the last minute, and then Omastar getting that elimination on Volcarona, a very good play in the dying seconds. We had already hit 0 on the countdown clock, so that last turn was huge, and Omastar was not messing around. It got that elimination with an impressive spatial run. But Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below who you thought was the best on field. And if you enjoyed what you saw, leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, you are awesome, and I will speak to you next time.